Pepsi proudly brings you In Focus.
Hi, and welcome to In Focus. We have some funny stories about advertising and the 7 traits of New Zealanders. But first, product placement. So what is it? Recently, an article has been published showing that product placement increases sales up to 5%, and it's you guys that are doing the purchasing. So is this form of subliminal messaging affecting you, the consumers? We cross now live to Michelle to investigate further.
Product placement is where a branded good or service is placed into a scene within the shot and context but without being the focus. So the product seamlessly sneaking its way into your line of vision of the movie, music clip, or even your favorite television show without you realizing. Coke, Apple, Pepsi. It may sound like your shopping list, but it's just a small proportion of household brands that have used product placement to influence you into buying their products. Some may argue that products and films are just there to make scenes more realistic. However, corporations pay millions of dollars to have their brands featured. Auntie and Lewis 2004 found that this was because when product placement, when it is done well, it looks as if it is part of the lives of the characters. It may lead to less counter-arguing and internal zapping that consumers do when faced with normal adverts. So why don't they do this? Consumers are becoming more resistant to traditional broadcasting methods. Each day we are hammered by over 3,000 adverts and visual images, and somewhere along the line we learn to ignore them. This disregard for traditional media has been helped along by changing technologies. Consumers now have the option of MySky or TiVo, where they can fast forward or even skip through ads. TV programs are now shown on the internet and everybody can watch these ad-free. Considering advertising is the biggest part of marketing spend, marketers had to come up with new, unique ways of getting us to recognize and purchase their brands. Product placement has been present in films since the 1920s. However, it is only in the last decade that it has been used as an effective marketing tool. It was found that product placement increases top-of-mind awareness by showing symbols and logos in places where they might not normally be seen. Subconsciously, the brain is aware of this and recognizes these brands when out purchasing. In a study conducted on a group of experts in a field of product placement, they found the real reason product placement is effective because it creates a circle of synergy for the audience. Messages are constantly repeated across media channels from a variety of different sources, even some that aren't usually expected to have advertising in them. This creation of synergy means that the brand gets more established in the memory of the audiences.
It was also found that product placement can have a huge influence on sales of a certain product. In fact, the 1993 movie The Firm, the effective placement of Red Stripe, a Jamaican root beer, caused sales to increase about 50% for the first month of the film's release. E.T. was essentially the first blockbuster movie in which product placement really took off. Hershey claims a 65% increase in the sale of Reese's Pieces following the film's release. E.T. was lured out of hiding by a trail of Reese's Pieces. So that's why they use product placement, but what does it mean for the consumer?
Product placement is essentially a form of advertising. It affects us consumers as we see the product, it gets stuck in our heads, and when we chance upon it while shopping, we recognise the brand and we are more likely to purchase it. In New Zealand, the Advertising Standards Authority has a set of codes which all advertisements must abide by. But, as product placement isn't considered advertising, it does not fall under these codes and is completely ungoverned. Therefore, product placement becomes a popular choice as there are no limits on time or content. In a study published in the American Journal of Pediatrics, it was found that more than 2/3 of popular movies featured food and beverage placements. The overwhelming majority of the brand placements were for energy-dense, nutrients-poor product. It was important to note that the majority of these movies were aimed at children and adolescents, and unlike normal advertising, they aren't subject to constraints. So product placement can influence children in ways that aren't normally controlled. So I wanted to go find out some more.
So I'm here with Kim Elliott from product placement advertising agency Exposure. Hi there.
Hi.
So can you tell me a little bit about product placement?
Sure, product placement is even happening here in New Zealand. Now marketers are looking at in-show content for their brands, and this also helps funding for the production.
So how exactly does it work?
Well, there's a range of different product placement, from very simplistic, here it's the phones we're using, cars where you're driving, laptops where you're using. These can be put into pretty much any show. Then we have the content product placement. This is used in shows such as reality shows, where they might be doing a renovation where they might need a specific product to solve the solution. Here it becomes a lot more valuable because we are talking about the product and its attributes and the reason why it's actually there.
You say it is valuable, but is it really that effective?
Well, there are various forms of product placement. It can be brands on set. This is good to generate brand awareness. Then you have the in-show content. Here they become a lot more successful as the brand is more integrated into the story and not noticed as often, therefore satisfying its objective.
I want to show you something, and I'm going to hope it will blow all your theories out the window and mean that we as consumers actually do put some thought into our purchasing. Are you ready?
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Go!
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Go!
So, did you see the moonwalking bear?
Well, I actually did, but then I'm the expert on picking up things that aren't there.
Well, your average non-expert does not notice the moonwalking bear due to everything else that's happening in the shot. So is it safe to assume that people are just going to ignore product placement as well?
Well, no. Product placement is done in the contents of a story. This storyline engages the audience and introduces them to the product in a subconscious way, and through this providing the audience with the product's attributes. This relates to McCracken's 1989 meaning transfer model. This has been used in a number of studies that surround product placement theory. McCracken suggests that popular entertainment such as movies are endowed with symbolic meaning that is then passed on to the product through association. Consumers connect their film world to their own world, mapping their aspirations onto the product placed in the film. This in turn influences attitudes and consumption norms. When consumption of a good or service becomes part of normal everyday life, that's when we know we have succeeded. This means that a person has associated with the brand placed inside the storyline, and they now see it as necessary for everyday life. It will no longer be purchased on special occasions or as a one-off purchase, but it will be purchased as part of everyday normality.
So after looking at the theory behind product placement, we wanted to find out if it was really that effective. So I conducted a little study of my own. We made our volunteer watch a 20-minute clip from the movie Transformers. Then I gave her $5 to go and buy the first thing that popped into her head. This Transformers clip was chosen as it has numerous different brands throughout the movie. However, we only gave her $5, so she couldn't really go out and buy a cell phone. What you're seeing now is a brief summary of what she watched for 20 minutes. I wasn't surprised when she came back with a Mountain Dew. She was obviously influenced by the placement, and even though it was short, she began to display McCracken's model in action. She was drawn into the storyline, and therefore the movie was given meaning. After the clip had ended and we handed her the money, she had the opportunity to transfer that meaning in a small way to her own life. This was done through the purchase of Mountain Dew. So what does this all mean for you as a consumer? I think from our findings today, we can pretty much safely say that almost everybody is vulnerable to being tricked into consuming by these marketing schemes. Next time you watch your favourite TV show or movie, count the amount of product placements you see. I think you'll be surprised about the amount you miss.
Michelle, for that interesting insight into the world of product placement. So as you can see, even you might be getting influenced to buy things that you might not have bought if you hadn't been exposed to product placement. Sure, you can say that we aren't as passive as marketers may think we are, but based on our research, TV and movies implant a lot more information into our minds than we might have realised. So the question is, now that you're aware of it, are you going to be immune to the clever tactics of the marketing industry?